What's up, y'all? What's going on? How's it going? You know what time it is. It's me, Eddie G, here with another brand new episode of, you guessed it, Eddie G's Comic Culture. Once again, I'm your host, the one and only Eddie G, here bringing it to you live and in full effect. How was y'all weekend? How y'all been doing? What's going on? Well, so far, coming off this weekend, having watched Us, I just raised, by the way, I just uploaded that episode right about now, so make sure y'all check that out. Um, and a pretty dope weekend. First and foremost, before I go any further, the show is still sponsored by the great folks over at Black Apparel. So make sure you hit up the website at www.blackapparelblk.com. They got some pretty dope swag going on. They got some great clothes. You know what I'm saying? Just for if you guys are interested in checking your fresh, definitely hit up the site. Shout outs to Kevin, of course, out in Jersey, and my boy Pablo on Channel 3 Productions, on my Instagram family, also Nerdy Blurb TV, and Pronto, of course, Pronto Comics, Cross Comics, my boy Dennis Knight up in New York in the Bronx, actually. Um, everybody. So with that being said, welcome to the show, and let's get this bitch going. So, anyways, the reason why I made this episode so quick is because obviously, I wanted to discuss first and foremost. They decided to lift the embargo for the critics' reviews over Shazam, and it appears like it's up on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's sitting up there at a pretty impressive site at 93%. And there's quite a few, the movie's just looking like it's universally appraised, being universally praised, excuse me, by everyone across the board. And, like, this is a type of good word of mouth that it really needs. And so with that being said, it's looking like it's going to hit, pretty good. I think it's going to do DC and Warner Brothers a pretty good favor, considering the budget. It wasn't too much as far as I was concerned. But that's neither here nor there. But I think it's actually gonna take it out there. It's looking like it's like, you know, this is the type of stuff that really you would have wanted for the original, um, I guess, DC Cinematic Universe. But we'll get around to that in a second. But at this point, I really want to emphasize, this portion of the show, and all on the appraisal that Shazam is getting, and I can't believe that it's actually, like, I had a feeling that it was actually going to be something special, especially the with the approach that they were taking with the crossover of, like, the approach of Big and meets Superman in a sense, and that's really something that, like, really sounded like, it was going to be some solid work, footwork for a grounded film that's actually going to take off. And considering that the director actually is more of a his experience has been more in the horror genre, the fact that it's getting that kind of this kind of love and show of support now throughout the critics is just it's at a 93% actually. Like I said, on Rotten Tomatoes, I don't know if I already said it before that, but yeah, man, like, it's looking pretty official. So with that, like, I'm super hyped on that, and of course, I'm gonna try to definitely get into Hellboy. Um, but then, the main deal, actually, we all know is Avengers Endgame is at the end of the month, at the end, the 26th of April. And it's really going to kick off the summer movie season, actually. We're finally going to see how it's going to, how it's going to close out a few chapters. It's going to suck, personally, for me, because, this is like the end of Chris Evans' appearance as Captain America, so that's going to really hit home when it comes apart like that, and I don't know how they're gonna go ahead and go forward without, I don't know. I mean, especially now, well, at this point, especially, well, Disney has the acquisition of 20th Century Fox, even though it's gonna be a while though before we see some actual presentation of those characters on screen, and I kind of believe that too. At this point, I don't know how they're gonna go ahead and move forward without a Captain America in their in the cinematic universe, which really, like, Cap has really, I guess, what Chris Evans, what Chris Evans has done with Captain America is what Christopher Reeve has done with Superman, and that's just, How I see it personally, you know, the way he embodied the role and carried the role throughout his trilogy. He will I'm like seeing not seeing him anymore in the uniform really is gonna kind of hurt, hit home. And if they continue to go further with the story of Bucky, then we'll see how that turns out as well. But you know they're saying it's gonna be, they're clocking it in at over 3 hours and 2 minutes from what I saw from what I saw on the sites earlier today actually. So that's gonna be a hell of a it's gonna be something. It's gonna be Lord of the Rings long, honestly. So that's gonna be one thing to have to be prepared for. So that's gonna suck. But at the end of the day, you know when push comes to shove, I'm really just super hyped at the fact that Shazam is making the splash that it is right now. And I was already super hyped to see the film since I already knew it was going in production. So, and then I love the cast on top of that they have for the film as well. So the fact that it's actually getting this type of phrase is amazing, you know, and if it generates enough, we could definitely see some sequels, which I would love to see more than anything else. So that's a day one for me. That's spoken facts right there as far as Shazam is concerned. Now, with that being said, I've seen a few articles already, and yeah, apparently Zack Snyder had made some promises of doing some sort of a Q&A after screening some of his movies or something like that. And apparently it looks like it took place over the weekend, this past weekend. So at this point, after a screening of BVS and all that, he started answering questions from the audience, and then on top of that, they did mention a few things about one of the main things that really that stood out, of course, was the fact that it was brought to his attention about certain fans being upset about Batman killing people. And his response was, in a nutshell, what he basically said, and that's exactly, his own words was, everybody should wake the fuck up. At this point, and he's like, and then he said something about living in a dream world if they thought Batman doesn't kill or some shit like that. I don't know what the hell. But anyway, after reading that, nothing, at this point, I can't tell you exactly how much. Well, first of all, it's been pretty, I've been pretty outspoken on Snyder's, handling of the DC cinematic universe, and how objective I've been about it. And at this point, I understand now exactly why he was definitely the wrong person for the job to headline such a major, such a tentpole franchise like that. Because he obviously has complete misunderstandings of these characters. It was evident from the beginning when he was struggling with certain issues in Man of Steel, which exactly was, the Jesus references and all that stuff. To me, that's just one of a few complaints that I had regarding that. But it was still a passable film. I thought it was still a good time in the cinemas. But at the same token, it's just okay, there's certain balances that he couldn't even get correct. And so for him to respond that way to the critics who had problems with his take on Batman, and the murderous take that he had on these actual characters, was just ridiculous to me. There should have been no reason for that. And obviously it was a studio mistake by keeping him on board for that long in the first place. If that was the case, they should have just clipped him right after BVS, which is what they should have done, and let somebody else take over and rewrite the plans or whatever the case may be. Because what he did was pretty much, sink a few future projects. He wasn't doing too much great, despite whatever, and I know he has a lot of his fans out there. Like I said, he's got a lot of cultists that are already posting up all over the place in his defense, and God knows what. Nothing can save nothing can spare the fact that he delivered nothing but mediocre to bad films, period. And to look at it and just, and say that it's because it was too deep for others is just, just causing, another reason for that pretentious behavior. That's just pretentious bullshit, honestly, because there was really no substance in a lot of that work. It was just incohesive and didn't really rock with me. So with that being said, with that being said, there was nothing spectacular about his form of storytelling throughout his films. Because if it was, he would have still been on. He still would have been on. And it's a lot of them. And this is how, this is where his fans, his beloved audience, lose their grasp on all things like that. Because they decide to say, oh, to hell with the general audience. Newsflash: these movies require the money of the general audience to keep these franchises going. This shit's these movies don't cost pocket change. They're not some shit that they're not some student films. So their budgets are extremely outrageous, and they need to be matched as well when it comes to the box office profits. So that argument falls on deaf ears regardless. And it doesn't excuse the fact that there's been poor product after poor product delivered by this man. So the fact that his response of these, to these characters was in that such a manner of wake the fuck up. That explains exactly why he wasn't even a good fit in the first place, because he didn't understand shit. He didn't understand anything about these characters and what they stood for. So with that being said, he's gonna be pissed off at this point for whatever the case may be, but it is what it is. It's done, whatever. So with that being said, I'm gonna end up just closing out this episode with peace and love. And of course, if y'all have any questions or comments, you already know, hit up the comment section. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, of course, because I will be delivering more content on the regular. And let me know what you think. What do you agree, disagree with me on any of the issues? Let me know what's up. So with that being said, take care, peace and blessings.